Caribbean content is growing, and we welcome you to be a part of the #1 platform for young personalities who are driven to make a positive impact in society. As we continue to reach every corner of Trinidad and Tobago through our daily broadcasts, our social media pages, or through our 75+ digital billboards across the nation, contact us to learn about our competitive rates via marketing at wesncc.com or call us at 628-5835. WESN Content Capital, television with a difference.
Pastor J, I want to get a tattoo.
You really
respond to me. Respond to me.
you?
How you would respond to me?
The first question I'd ask is why?
Controversial taboo topics.
We get so consumed by church, we forget that we have to live the life of being a Christian outside of the Sunday.
Like you say,
services.
we think going to a service makes us a Christian.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. So here we are about to hear the second time Pastor J wanted to take a tattoo.
Would have been late last year and early this year.
Oh gosh.
Hope Unfiltered podcast with Pastor J and Ren.
We are tackling the hard-hitting topics, some controversial topics, some topics we sweep under the rug. You don't always have to forgive in a relationship for it to move forward.
If it is you are in a situation where you forgive the person, but to the detriment of yourself, what are you really doing?
It is very uncommon for somebody in the younger age group to have dementia.
Atheists don't not believe.
Is that I can't disprove God, but you also can't prove God. So we kind of at a stalemate.
You'll focus on the woman who's being the victim,
Right.
or the man who's being the victim. We exclude the children.
Folks are trying to study the underlying brain mechanism to figure out how does this particular disorder happen in the brain? How is the brain processing this?
Don't worry about AI, worry about humans working with AI.
Are you willing to learn new skills to stay relevant for the future job market? That's the challenge that people are going to struggle with.
This is 10 Questions. I'm Andy Johnson. The distance from where we should be in the world in going forward on our commitments with climate change.
The effects of climate change that cannot be accounted for. It's called loss and damage. And we're seeing loss and damage happening so much more in this decade and the previous decade.
The principal term there was this question of the correspondent banking issues.
That is why we're trying to build capacity with this country here, Trinidad and Tobago, and other countries in the region. Man is not showing any signs of stopping or even slowing down. More than half of the forest in Trinidad is already gone.
All the plants and all the animals and all of the nice clean water and fresh air and everything had to be on this planet for humanity to have a chance.
We have small change when it comes to countries that can take decisions, and when they speak, the world listens.
The General Assembly is a very democratic forum. And Trinidad and Tobago has the same vote as Canada, in spite of the obvious difference in size.
This is Face of Sports, WESN Content Capital. How you felt about the kiss on the lip?
That's the business. I'm nothing to do with that.
I find that was distasteful.
The national senior team, whether you like it or not, that is the model for all other teams to follow.
I'm assuming that the regional requirement may be a much stricter requirement.
This is not about Pro League and Super League. This is a league run by the Normalization Committee that I'm responsible for.
Nobody expected FIFA to fund this arrangement.
If we don't get a professional attitude towards this, we are doomed for failure.
You break the balance, trip the leg, control the body.
They ain't gonna stand put forever.
Why you want the Chiefs to lose so? Why you want the Chiefs to lose so?
They already have two. Lamar don't
Why?
have.
You're jealous because you know the Chiefs getting closer to the Patriots. Let's go to the last part.
No,
of the
not no.
Let's go to the last part.
Remember waking up early just to catch your favorite cartoons?
Never do!
WESN brings back those magical mornings with Retro Saturdays.
Thus, the Powerpuff Girls were born!
Where the young at heart relive the fun. Join us every Saturday from 8 a.m. to 12 noon, only on WESN, the content capital.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, The Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378 or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
As always, we appreciate you starting your day with us. Let's get into this morning's first conversation.
Is the country's healthcare system more at risk more than ever?
Why it has remained unaddressed for so long.
Political parties get lots of cash, big cash from financiers, and then when they get that now, you can't account for it.
But it's really the specialist nurses who we are in a greater shortfall for.
We can tap into the resources and have them, at least form some mentorship programs.
Highlight our food systems, and which will attract persons from all over the world to come and experience something that actually supports the local economy.
We're lucky that we have a vibrant legal system that allows change to take place, and it's not that matters are just swept under the carpet and discrimination is allowed to be perpetrated.
A lot of people don't know that there were attempts to ban the carnival, suppress the carnival.
Low energy? Heart concerns? Migraines slowing you down? It's time to take control of your health. Join Wellness Unlocked, the series that brings expert advice and real solutions for a healthier you. In our latest episode, learn how Jameson CoQ10 can help support heart health, boost energy, and even reduce migraines. Get the science, the stories, and the steps to power up your health with CoQ10. Don't miss Wellness Unlocked. Watch now on WESN and start your wellness journey today.
You are watching Strictly Legal on WESN Content Capital. Just give an overview of what exactly is that split arrangement.
In this, now you don't need to register nothing. We can do that another time. But then it becomes a hit, and then everybody starts to want to claim.
The laws that predate many of the independent countries' constitutions are going to be those colonial laws.
We know there are an infinite amount of circumstances that would lead to a murder.
I have a great idea and I have a great concept, but until it's actually expressed, it does not become intellectual property.
Accomplishments or targets of a forensic accountant is to quantify what may have been lost.
We believe with different criminals and we manipulated the law and we exploiting the system.
A responsible journalist will reach out to the person who they have the information on for a comment.
WESN.
We have a short show today. Things on the work. So joining me off the top, we have with us one of our contributors, Ashraf Ali, disaster management expert, semi-retired police officer, and hopefully someone that will help give a sense of calm given what has transpired over the last 24 to 48 hours, depending on on how much you follow with regards to the international stuff which is happening right next door. But there was something that happened internationally here. Before we get into some of the more substantial topics, just a few quick things to get. And I'm happy you're here because I didn't watch the game. I didn't go to the game. I actually watched another game because I guess for me, I'm not really too invested in the will we go to the World Cup once again, squeak in, with very little chance of doing anything. And it seems as though the hopes and dreams of this next World Cup is over because I believe this result is we tied with Jamaica. I don't know if, I don't know how much does it mean to you? Because I guess to me, my disappointment with sports generally, it's kind of hard to then be disappointed in bad results. It's almost like you kind of expect this to happen when you don't really see an investment or taking things seriously. And I kind of feel sorry for the athletes and the coaches because I guess they don't realize they're swimming upstream, essentially, the whole way. And, you know, how much can be expected of them?
So good morning to the listeners. First things first, Trinidadians and Trinbagonians, when it comes to certain type of sports, are bandwagonists.
Oh.
Okay? So we tend to only want to follow when things looking a little good enough, right? I mean, it's unfortunate that they played well. They didn't get the desired output. They win. They got a draw. But sometimes, like I was having the same discussion with some of my colleagues and some friends. And here's the thing: you can't wait to the end.
Mm-hmm.
To hope to get in. You got to start at the beginning, right? You put your good foot forward, but there's a lot of issues with respect to football in Trinidad and Tobago that is not only about a player alone.
Yes.
It's in the entire system with football and how the management of football is taking place.
Ironically, would you say that this is another area, once again, where we lack long-term planning? But in this case, it's sport, right? What's the point of a sport if you don't have spectators? It just, even if it's state sponsored, you need that, you know, to propel it, well, right, to sustain it.
Exactly. So I'm not the expert in football, right? But here's the thing about it. When you are building a team, you can change coaches on a regular basis. If your team remains the same and the team is at a particular level, there's not much those coaches could do, right? We have to develop our pool of individuals for these international games. Do our locals have enough? Our local football, does the Pro League have enough skill set to go to the next level? Now, yes or no. I mean, that's a conversation for a lot of persons, right? The new legislation that they want to put in place, where is the grandmother legislation, right? I mean, it wouldn't benefit. It can't benefit us now because it's too late for that opportunity. But in the future, it will give an opportunity. It should be given opportunity for different type of talents from across the world, across the different. For the world to come to build, to play with us, right? And that's what you need. So, I mean, people shouldn't be all that dejected as to the results, because we have to build. And I'm saying we should also build for the next World Cup, right? We are in the building process, and it don't happen overnight. So I am hopeful that probably in the next World Cup, and we will be in a better position, and we will not be fighting to the end to get in. We will be in a better position, and on all the issues surrounding coaches and players should not be the main issues, and even the funding for the players, for the teams to go all about. I mean, that's sports is an investment, yeah. And if you're not willing to invest in sport, and I'm not talking about a governmental investment alone, I'm talking about sponsorship. Corporate entities put into towards sports, and if corporate entities are saying, listen, I don't see we're not seeing the overall benefit I mean, you're not going to get investments.
It's a bad sign in two stages. The economy, maybe it's not enough liquidity moving around, but also we've spoken about sports programs for youths. So it's kind of hard to be like, oh, well, we need to get the kids off the streets after school when there might be negative influences. Maybe we could look at sport. But then now, the difference is in America, either you'll have some kids with aspirations and that potential bright future alone, right? Even if it's not realistic, because statistically most of them ain't going to get to the NBA. The point is there's a path. It doesn't have to be professional in the NBA. There's other professional opportunities in America, in Europe, and then at the very least, some of them will look at collegiate, right? Or parents might look at school league sports because their school league sports are taken seriously enough that it is a major contributing developing factor for the young people. We don't necessarily have that there. So to say, well, we'll have basketball courts open for the young people, well, to what end? So they can play a few games. Only the ones that really like basketball will be engaged. It's something to encourage further engagement, right?
Development of the sport itself.
So the just trying to just kind of do these programs to say, oh, but then also too, if you don't have a strong professional or semi-professional scene, something local that they could grasp at as fans, right? They're not going to love the game as much, so are they going to, do they care to play? A lot of people want to play a certain game because they get enamored with a certain player or stuff like that. So, I mean, there's a lot to unpack here, and yes, there's certain other news about a sporting venue. We'll get to that in a bit, but just a couple other things that I wanted to get through first. First of all, one of the things we spoke about quite a few times is the situation with school violence, and there was a report that in one situation, and we're not talking about teenagers, it was a primary school student, 11-year-old, assaulted by a female police officer. Now, as a parent of another student.
And that I want to reinforce.
Because my initial thought was, oh my gosh, so it finally happened. The police officer did a thing. I didn't know it was an 11-year-old. So I thought it was teenagers had a fight. Police officer said, I'm going to break up the fight. And they get charged. And I'm like, you see, we can't keep going like this. I didn't think it was a parent. It's really more parent situation than police situation, which I did think had happened.
And that is the reality of it. The reality is that the level of school violence that is taking place and the lack of enforcement or the lack of ability between the Ministry of Education and other agencies to address that resulted in some of these resulted in this action and other actions that took place where a parent assaulted a child outside school, hit him a slap, and he's before the court. He was charged for assault. All right? Now, yes, it happened to be a police officer, which in my opinion should have known better on how to address a situation like that nature, especially when you're dealing with a child. But by the end of the day, I am not going to criticize the police officer, because that police officer is a parent at the same time. What that parent, so take away, I'm taking it away, there's a parent. Mm-hmm. That is how some parents in this day and age may react in situations. How do we address those type of things when you have, on one hand, the ministry, the school environment and some of the ministry is not taking up, the decisions that have been taken is not effective enough.
Now, one thing, they say assault. That doesn't actually describe what happened. Like, am I correct to say assault could include grabbing and not necessarily hitting?
Once you push the child away, that's an assault.
Right.
All right? You push a child away, that's an assault. You push an adult away, that constitutes an assault.
If you touch.
Exactly.
If you touch, that could be.
Yes.
Right. So if you have an altercation with a police officer in the sense of they want to ask you something and you kind of like, hey, yo.
Yeah, that's assault.
That technically you're not.
That is an assault.
Okay. Right. So that's just that was just a tangential thing for people to know.
But the thing about it is that we are allowing it to fester, and yes, we put in police officers in schools, but are they effective enough, or could they be effective enough, because the system itself is broken?
So this is the implication. You have a fellow police officer that basically did one of two things. Either disregarded the whole situation for their self-interest, or said, this is not working to the point where I have to intervene, which is one of the things that came out with the whole question about transfers, where they pull in the kids from schools in a couple of cases in the press because the transfer process taking too long, and the NPTA's advice is, no, keep them in school. And I could see what the parents coming out, it's like, time out. Aren't we supposed to be worried about bullying and physical violence, and then bullying leads to potential child suicide?
Exactly, so we have two aspects of it. We have the child who is being bullied, and you have the bully. If it is taking place in school, which one are you going to address? Are you going to tell the parent, move the child who is being bullied, right?
Well, in some cases, the parents made that choice already.
Make a choice.
So if they want to make that choice, that's up to them, yeah.
But we haven't addressed the issue with the bully.
That's a good point.
Right? So then you're saying, do not move the child who is bullied because the child needs certain type of counseling and certain. Yeah, I understand that. But at some point in time, we have to understand that, listen, you have to have a balance. One cannot suffer to the hands of the other. Right? And we have to have a balance. If a child is being bullied and the child who is bullying is striking out, the child, sometimes, that's what I'm saying, sometimes you don't have enough counselors in school, guidance counselors in school, you don't have enough analysis to determine whether or not this child has some issues going home, taking place in their home, and is striking out in schools. Right? And it turns out to be that the child is a bully, but the child is not a bully really. In the true essence is that they may just be exhibiting a certain about behavior.
Well, here's the other thing with regards to human psychology. Apparently, and I don't know how good these studies are or how good these examples are, right? But apparently, it's been tested and proven. If you take a group of students where they're bullies, and you take out the bullies from the equation, some of the former victims will potentially become the new bullies.
Somebody taking over.
Somebody will take over, yeah. So, apparently nature abhors even a vacuum like that.
Dominance.
Right? And the thing is, the vacuum doesn't have to be filled with a bully. It's just that if you don't figure out how to fill it with something correct, something negative will fill it. More on that with regards to a story down south as well. Yeah. But we run out of time here for this segment. I just want to mention police do have reasonable response times. There was somebody, at 12:45 a.m., a gold chain was snatched, and essentially police officers who were on patrol in the vicinity managed to, well, saw the suspects and intercept them. Just wanted to point out, whenever there's good news about crime fighting and fast response times, yes, and we all think it's mythical unicorns about police response, but it happens, and probably more than the papers report.
Well, the thing about it is that once you have sufficient police officers on the streets, there's a possibility that your response time to these type of things would be reduced and it'd be more effective. But the concept might be that could we maintain it, could we sustain it over a long period of time, and that is the problem that we face on a regular basis, because it cannot be maintained on a regular basis, right? So it's difficult. So sometimes you're concentrating in one area, and it all depends on where the incident took place too, the concentration of police officers.
Now, the last thing for time that I want to hit to, we're in a situation where, I mean, I don't know to what extent you could speak of these things, but there's two reports this week. One is with regards to municipal police officers complaining about conditions at their station, right? This is Officer Tachnamayaro, Rio Calaro Regional Corporation. And then there's another situation where apparently a station was closed with regards to fire in San Grande. And I guess so post-budget, concerns about the fact that it seems as though there's just too much financial things falling through the cracks, yes or no?
So I wouldn't even say post-budget.
Well, it's always been there, but the budget is a chance to maybe see
unfortunately, Unfortunately, the present administration is facing the brunt of all of these situations. And what they're facing is what? Lack of maintenance for government facilities, right? And that didn't happen overnight.
Right, so let's fast forward, because there was a whole plan last week, right? We didn't necessarily speak about it. I can't remember when the presentation was Thursday or Friday. There's a whole revitalization plan. With that plan came two things: a national security complex and a unified prison complex, I guess you could say. Right. But that also includes courtrooms and inmate work facilities and stuff like that, right? And my thing was, at least with the prison, you could see, well, all of those things physically have to exist or exist already. So whatever money was paying for that, we'll have to pay for this, right? Maintenance-wise. However, they get the capital, we ain't think. I figured all of the residential projects for this plan, in theory, will pay for the capital, but the maintenance is the issue. With regards to the national security complex, I'm like, do we have this level of infrastructure? I'm not saying we can't have it. I'm just saying, if this is something grander than we've ever had before, how are we going to pay for it? Not the build. We might be able to build the thing. We always find money to build a thing. But how are we going to maintain it when we can't maintain the police stations we have already? Yes, I know maybe we have too many police stations, but you know what I mean?
No, but you're right. And it's not about the police station alone. It's about all government institutions and government facilities and buildings. Maintenance costs a lot. The reason behind it is this. When you have, if you build a facility, the facility is being utilized over a period of time by multiple individuals. The facility is being used, right? Furniture and equipment and fittings and everything else in the physical infrastructure, it is being used. It has to be maintained, right? Let's put it this way. In your home, when you're home, you always have to cater for a tap leaking, right? Something, some repainting every Christmas time. You want to repaint, or every 2 years you want to do a repainting because you want to what? Keep up the infrastructure, keep up your house to a particular standard. You want to keep doing it, bringing it back to a particular standard. You don't want to have it dilapidated, right? That is basic maintenance. But what you're doing is that we have facilities that we don't have a proper maintenance plan. You know, our maintenance plans that we have in Trinidad and Tobago for a number of facilities is hire a contractor. Hiring a contractor alone is not the maintenance plan. Because at the end of the day, when you look at the issues surrounding giving out contracts, you have a process for contracts. I am not saying that the same personnel within the organization have do maintenance, but you have to have a plan. The maintenance program that you have must be consistent, either a 6 months maintenance, 8 months maintenance. I'm not going to say paint all the facilities every year, but there are infrastructural problems they have to face. When you look at what is happening in stations, in police stations, it's a perennial issue. Simple things like lighting. Lights are utilized on a regular basis to change a light bulb. Right? You want to purchase it, you have to go through a particular process. It costs a lot. It costing. Right? Now, when you look at the vehicles, it's maintenance. And the facilities are there. So you build facilities for persons to use. And then when something happens, then you decide, well, okay, we got to get somebody to do repair work. And that is happening on a regular basis. That is why many of the facilities and infrastructure, you see that they become dilapidated. Why is that happening? You have buildings, new buildings that were built recently, and when you watch rainfall, the place flooded. Tell me, who monitoring that? How could you build a facility? Facility is open to general use, and you still have issues like a leak in the roof. You don't have water supply. You have sewer system problems. Then that facility wasn't supposed to be open because it's not up to standard. However, only when you start to use a facility, then you realize the facility wasn't designed to take so much load.
Abuse.
And abuse. Because you could develop a sewer system and it was never utilized, right? But because the sewer system is being utilized on a regular basis, it might be overwhelmed. So you had to have a maintenance program to monitor that system, monitor electrical, because you build a facility, you don't build a facility with all the avenues for the amount of laptop and the supply of electricity they need for that facility alone. You know. Sometimes during the because we just build facilities for one area, and all of a sudden, 6 months down the line, we throw everything inside and say, okay, we have space. So we just add in, and the building becomes overloaded. The building becomes non-functional. Nobody seems to know what is taking place. Right? Maintenance is a serious issue.
We got to go, but I'll just say this. Part of it, I think, is we don't think about the expansion. Because this is just a case in point. Whenever there's a new internet service provided, it's always the fastest thing ever. Well, that's because no one is using it. So it'll be fast. And then eventually everybody's like, it's the fastest, it's the best, it's the cheapest. Everybody subscribes. All of a sudden, it's not so fast no more. I don't understand why. Because the capacity is the same thing for the roads, is the same thing for whatever government service. It's always the best because look how easy it is until everybody figures it out and starts to utilize it. And if there's no plans of how to grow it as demand grows, then all of a sudden, you'll have a staff that will be overworked, a building that will be overused, maintenance bill that will be too high. And it's nice to say we should have a thing, but has any planning been considered as to how far will this thing have to grow? Otherwise, we're going to cause ourselves more problems than we're actually trying to solve almost, the way how these things go. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll continue the conversations. There was a tweet. That's all we got. But it's an indicator of an escalation. Stay tuned. This is Talking About WSN. We'll be right back after this.
If these walls could talk, they'd cry uncle. They didn't plan to become offices or yoga studios. But they've stood by us, even when we got a little stir-crazy. For that, they deserve some thanks. They deserve Benjamin Moore.
Do you need treatment for obesity or any related abdominal procedures? The community hospital now offers minimally invasive laparoscopic surgery done by an American-trained, board-certified surgeon with over 20 years' experience. Give us a call at 235-5479 for more information.
The Community Hospital of Seventh-day Adventist,
where good private health care is affordable.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, the Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378, or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
Knowing how to tell authentic is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Find it, match it, search it. Step 1. Find the style number on the tag. Step 2. Match the style number inside the jersey with the number on the tag. Step 3. Search it. A quick Google search of the style number will verify the jersey is authentic when the search results match the jersey being searched. Don't be fooled by counterfeit jerseys. Before you buy, remember to find it, match it, search it.
Fan Zone, 2 locations nationwide. Center City Mall, Chaguanas and Movietown, Port of Spain. Nationwide delivery available.
All right, now, conversation continues here. I'm talking about the WESN, and the first thing that I wanted to get to, although there isn't really much we could talk about it, this is just one of those things, and the communication side, we might get into it further in some of the other topics. You pointed out something to me this week, so I do want to bring it up after this. But the U.S. Secretary of War tweeted, well, he tweeted a tweet. And there was a part of me that prayed to God this was a fake tweet, in part because it's one thing to kick off the violence, but there's just so little info, so we're kind of left hanging. I could already see where a lot of people are going to be panicking, because I think most people are going to assume, hey, it's regime change. But the tweet basically says, we're going after you drug traffickers. Now, the only reason why I think you're going to escalate things is because, as they say, they're going to go to do land strikes. Land strikes where? Because I don't know if Colombia will be that open to land strikes either, and Venezuela won't be. So where we do Ecuador, I don't understand who is these land strikes, how these things are going to unfold. And of course, my issue is the uncertainty of it all, because there are too many people panicking over this issue.
Well, I cannot realize, from a strategic perspective, I cannot see that you're going to do a land strike and head across waters.
Well, without,
yeah, so if it is that they are going to do land strike, I think they would do it directly from their own assets,
yeah,
straight to where they want to go. I hope it's not unfolding, but at the end of the day, we in Trinidad and Tobago, there's a lot of speculation, but we are not around the table in the White House, and we do not know what is their plan and what their outcome would be. They're projecting their outcome, they're projecting how they're going to deal with it and what they risk and how they're going to treat with it. So we just hearing this, so we understand that this is what they're going, and we're going to be speculating that, okay, it eventually will come. No matter how we look at it, we are between a rock and a hard place, right? Because like I said, if they go in directly on land, we would get a lot more immigrants coming to us. That is one of the problems that we will face, because with our economy as it is right now, we expect to get more.
Well, here's the thing: if they do land strike, now, I believe, I could be wrong if my memory is correct, land strike might be Trump's term, right? I'm not entirely sure. That does not necessarily mean sending troops on the ground.
Yeah,
it could mean airstrikes on ground targets.
I understand. So,
but I'm like you. There's a part of me that thinks you put assets to put troops on the ground in the area. At some point, you're going to use them
the fallout of the fallout is that we are very close, and we are the choice location for mass migration. And what is going to happen now, because we already have a foundation set here in Trinidad and Tobago, where a number of Venezuelans have been integrated into our system, that is going to provide some level of haven for the mass.
I don't think that if the whole thing kicks off, we're going to see that tomorrow.
No,
it's going to happen after the fact when the shooting. Well,
possibility exists. There's a possibility that if it starts, we will still see, because the issue still remains that it may have been the migration might have been reduced because of the challenges, right? With the U.S. location there, so person may not be able to cross on a regular basis, but those states is not happening. But this if a situation like this, we have to be expecting we have to expect that that is a follow. We're not worrying, we can't expect that, okay, a lot of the posts that Venezuela going to attack Trinidad.
Well, listen, they are very even-keeled, how to put this? Capably intelligent people who are like, well, I just hope Maduro don't go crazy and shoot at us, right? And the logic behind it, I guess, is, well, they're attacking us in the press, maybe they'll attack us physically. They can't reach America. We might be the revenge target, right? The thing is, never underestimate the combination of stupidity and arrogance of world leaders at times.
So true.
So I can't say that it's impossible. It's just one of those things where I'm like, I don't expect it to happen. I think it's very unlikely to happen. Accidentally, it's very unlikely to happen. I don't even know if anybody could calculate the likelihood of it happening. I just don't expect it to be large. But the problem is, I can't sit here and say, oh, guaranteed, 0 chance.
We can't say that because that would be we able to predict the future, which we can't.
Although, by all reports, Venezuela doesn't have the equipment to really shoot anything long enough to reach us. And the thing is, which makes sense, because anything that they could use against us, right, would technically not help them against the Americans, depending on how the Americans do whatever they do.
So we have to be realistic. That is not about somebody they're shooting something at us, right? That is one avenue. And like I said, there are multiple avenues. One of the thing about it is that we already know the amount of Venezuelans in Trinidad. We don't know who they are or what groups they are.
There is a suspected.
If they join forces together and support the cause, right, we can cause some serious havoc in Trinidad and Tobago, right? So you don't have to be directly sending anything across. Indirectly, it can happen. But look what happened in Guyana. There is a world where those type of things is a real possibility. So
you're speaking about the case
in Guyana with the bomb
in the gas station that caused the death of an 11-year-old, right? Yes.
So and I'm saying there are
which is suspected terrorism.
Good. So there's a possibility that we have to look at, not only talking about, well, if Venezuela don't have enough equipment, resources or devices to fire straight at us. That is not that is one aspect of it, but we have to look at it from a different perspective also. There are other opportunities that can be utilized, and we have to be wary of it, right? We have Carnival coming up very shortly. We know for Carnival, Trinidadians love to just be free. Those are opportunities.
And the thing is, okay, it's a country. And for whatever reason, we assume, which is kind of funny because we're applying this to the Americans. We assume that a country will not do certain things.
Yes.
Right? So we assume, oh, Venezuela's not doing these things, so it's a country. Why would they do these things? Right? America's saying, no, they're doing these things. That's to me, at this point, is for the courts to sort out, right?
True.
Just that America's kind of pushing it beyond even. It's one thing to have the accusations, another thing to shoot first on an accusation that is unproven.
Oh, yeah.
But the flip side of that is now, look, monkey see, monkey do. We have criminals here that they copy each other here.
Yes.
They copy transnational organizations in the region. If possible, they'll copy criminal activity abroad, right? Why wouldn't a government do that in the sense of, because now it was reported in a UK publication, the Financial Times, yesterday is what these reports, our reports are saying, that the Attorney General said, yeah, we are engaged with our friends in the North in a series of exercises, right? So the report outlines that the AG did not say if the exercises had already started, offered no explanation with regard to the type of exercises. So it doesn't necessarily say if it was exercises that happened, exercises to happen, right? And at this current time frame, while yes, when that destroyer came in, these are things that happen all the time. There's tension in the Formosa Strait between Taiwan and China. American ships do port of calls all the time. They do exercises with allies regardless of, how heightened things are, how sensitive things are all the time, right? And in that situation, they said, well, we requested further maritime exercises for our Coast Guard back during trade winds. So this is on an American timing, which was very convenient. But anyway, now it's a little bit different if things are escalating. The more things escalate, the more interaction we have, the harder it is to reasonably say, oh, well, this is separate. This has nothing to do with.
Right now, everything is same pot. So whatever action taken is a possibility. Everybody is, can speculate that these are things that are going to happen. So a lot of speculation. But we, holistically, I am saying, from a security perspective, you just can't watch it from one angle. Right? There's a lot of more risk associated from a, there's direct threat and there's indirect threats to us. We have to look at what indirect threats could be to us also, right? And sometimes your indirect threat might cause more problems or more challenges for you than your direct threat. And we overlooking the indirect threats, right? Under the radar, we overlooking the indirect threats because the indirect threats are already existing in Trinidad and Tobago. It is part of our system already, right? So we do not know how significant the indirect threat is going to be. Nothing could be, let's say nothing has fired, nobody fired anything to Trinidad. But still we have problems. You know why? Because we have persons who are in support of the administration. Some might be not in support of the administration. And when you have people who are in support of, strong support, and other are not too so strong support, what could happen between that?
Because in Guyana, it was one Venezuelan and at least 2 Guyanese nationals, amongst others.
So even within, we have indirect threats we had to look at.
Well, because at the end of the day, we can't put a damper on crime.
We can't.
Do we expect patriotism to just break out all of a sudden? I've already said multiple times, I don't necessarily think we practice patriotism all that much on a day-to-day basis. But let's move on, kind of shift gears a little bit, because somewhat in line with this, and this is not necessarily meant to pile on to the minister, but you pointed out something to me, and this isn't a clear-cut situation, but once again, Minister of Homeland Security, Roger Alexander, he utilized language that could be interpreted as, Minister, you're not a police officer anymore. Because it's language to say, we will, and it's almost as though he's like 2 steps from jumping in the car himself, strapping up a vest, strapping on a HK or M4 or whatever, and saying, guys, I will lead, right? I will break the door down and bull rush the first target.
It might be very interesting. It might be very, very interesting right now to have a minister so directly forward.
I know you're being sarcastic
No.
because you said, I thought you were saying to have a minister literally lead a raid.
No, I'm saying, we have been so accustomed of one behavior, right? I'm not saying it right, I'm not saying it wrong. But what he was a front, he is a front for the vast majority of his years. He's operational. He's a ground individual. He goes and gets the job done. Unfortunately, sometimes when he uses his language, that comes out in the forefront, right? I don't think he meant it that way, right? So because remember, I don't think he really meant it that way, but it can come across, as we said, that he forgets that he's a minister now, and those type of language can't be used as a minister because the minister does not take the front line, right? He has to be as objective as possible. But then, it would be very interesting if a minister decides, listen, I'm the Minister of Homeland Security, I am taking the fight towards with my leads. Now, it's going to be interesting. I'm just saying it's going to be interesting. I don't expect it to happen, but I'm saying it's going to be, it will be interesting. But as he gets more into this role as the minister, I think his language will be changed. He would change because he is no longer police officer. He's a Minister of Homeland Security who oversees certain areas, police, fire, the prison system, right? Prisons. So when he say we, probably he interpreted it as okay, his departments is taking the forefront, but it might come across like he directly, right? So that is why when we were having discussion, I picked it up, right? And I said, whoa, he should not have said it that way because he is the minister. It may not have come across. So I don't think anybody in the media really target him fit, right? Because the occasion was a specific occasion that he speaks directly. And I like what he said that persons need to put down those firearms. Choose a way to put it down. Because if you don't, and if I've given you all the opportunities, now there has never been, nobody has established any, how you call it, moratorium on firearms and telling break into firearms, right? It's just an opportunity saying, hey, listen, you want to put down your firearms? Find a way to put down those guns. Call somebody, call the police and tell them where to find it. Do all of that. Because when we come for you, and when he say when we, I know is when the law enforcement comes for you, which he is in charge of.
But the problem is, and it might not be fair, it's one thing for Fitzgerald Hines to say when we, or even Edmund Dillon to say when we, right? Because he was not a police officer. So he's not seen as identifying with that. But the current Minister of Homeland Security, look, even Wayne Stage, he's an attorney, right? Not a military guy, not a police guy. Yeah. If he said we will take it in a whole different context. But when Roger says we, Roger, and that's why, is it Roger the minister or Roger the former policeman? When he says we, you just have to wonder, because the flip side to this, as Minister of National Security, the leadership function, Homeland Security, sorry, at this point, you know, the leadership function, it's different than inspector, superintendent, senior superintendent, deputy commissioner, commissioner, right? Even if before, because I think the prison service wasn't underneath him before. So even if it was just the police service, right? And he is technically the guy above the commissioner, it's still very separate and apart when compared to being in the police service. What's required is different. And I guess if you kind of take a lot of different things, a lot of different cues, and we've said this before, this has been a concern because he's not a professional politician, so of course we can't reasonably expect him to be a professional politician, seasoned, experienced veteran at this sort of thing. But at the end of the day, he has to kind of figure out a way to learn quick, because one of the things is, if you say we, at some point the police in the field is going to be like, well, what are you saying we for? We never see him anymore, right? Depending, which is fine. But then the other thing is, he's civilian oversight now, not one of the boys. He can't solve the problem with his own two hands anymore. In many ways, his position makes him too important to go and solve the problem with his own two hands.
Unfortunately, Sean, and I won't say unfortunately, part of your DNA is being a police officer for so many years, and it becomes natural talking out of a language. So I am not too critical about it. I am not too critical of the minister. When it came about, say, yeah, well, he needs to revisit sometime because somebody could pick him. Because at the end of the day, if somebody is looking to pick everything that he says, or the ministers say, any of the ministers, they want to pick from language and try to find a way.
People have said they don't want him to talk.
Yes.
And we've spoken about this last week. They don't want him to talk, and it's like, why do you not want him to speak?
I have no issue with the way that he speaks. Like we said, sometimes his narratives and how he answers questions might be very questionable. But we have and this is my problem. We keep putting individuals on pedestals and want to say, okay, this is how I want somebody to behave, just like this individual. Whether the person is good, bad, or indifferent, you want that person to behave. I cannot be the other individual. I have to be me, right? And I have to be me within the capacity that I am, right? So he is finding his way in the capacity that he holds. He may not be perfect in every say the perfect thing to every time, so somebody will be satisfactory to what you expect somebody to say. But I am saying that eventually he will get there as he gets accustomed answering questions and feeling questions coming to him and no understanding the media and how the media asks particular questions towards him and how we could respond to certain questions. But being very critical on everything or hinge on every single word that he says and make an issue about it, it does not augur well for us, because sometimes you shoot the messenger and forget the message. One of the messages that they mentioned that they forget to mention, everybody didn't want to mention, and they left that out, is that he is making a clarion call to the criminal elements to put those guns down. Find a way to get rid of those. Find a way to get rid of the gun and put it down.
I mean,
because
Senex might say what's the point of that, but at the very least, you kind of have to do these things, right?
Exactly, because at the end of the day, when, as the commissioner indicates, when you get engaged with the police and you have been told by the minister and by other individuals, get rid of those guns, put it away, and you confront law enforcement, what is the consequences they may face?
Especially now. Let's just say now, listen, at some point, if the Americans get away with airstriking pirogues, somebody is going to take that as a sign, whether rightfully or wrongfully, hey, you know, we could get away with more, right?
And this is not only for, we have to look at it holistically. When he is addressing the nation, he's addressing Trinidad and Tobago. And Trinidad and Tobago is made up of different classes, different individuals. We have problems with children, young children and teenagers involved in crimes. So even those individuals have to hear the call of the minister, listen, put down those put down the guns, because you could end up as statistics.
Now, the flip side to that is, I just want to end with this. You said he speaks to the nation. One of the issues I have with the American Secretary of War is, okay, you declared a thing. You didn't even necessarily outline what the thing is. It's a war on drugs. How far are you going with this war on drugs? What does it mean? The uncertainty is causing a lot of people, ironically, not necessarily Americans, because, hey, they're up there, we're down here. But a lot of us, the uncertainty is wearing away at people, right? Stressing on people. But I'll say this. I'll draw a parallel. When we have a 10-point crime plan, well, we don't know what it is.
Well, then
it's hard to not be. You see, the point of saying you have a plan is to try to alleviate some of the concerns of the public. But if we don't really know what it is, it's hard for affairs to be alleviated, in part because we've seen this before. We have a plan, and then the government of the day, whoever it is, the plan doesn't really work.
So then, Sean, could I say that he is now becoming a politician?
In the wrong way, I guess.
Because many of
no, but I think that's because it's not. No, I think that's because he is a field officer.
No,
right.
What I'm saying is that some ministers or some politicians, as the case may be,
yes.
Ministers, politicians in the whole will throw out a plan. Throw out as a proposal of that. We have this and we have that, and that's all they're going to give you.
Right, but the difference is with him, I assume, and I could be wrong, maybe he is falling in line in the wrong way with other politicians, and one of the reasons why the current administration is popular is because they have people like him who were not
exactly
experienced like that politicians, right? They were new people who hopefully would be better. I think potentially this is more to do with the fact that as a field officer, right, information control, need to know basis. Why does the public need to know? The public don't need to know these things. And to some extent, when the higher ups, if it's military, you would say flag officers, right? In this case, the executive leadership, they don't understand their function with regards to what they should and should not communicate. It's one thing for a field officer. A field officer never really supposed to communicate, right? All that much. Only if there's some big operation and at the end he comes out, which Alexander's done. This is what happened, right?
Yeah.
But field officer ain't supposed to be in front of the camera just so. But now he's not that. He jumped a rank in an environment where the rank he bypassed, police executive, and the rank he currently holds, government minister, traditionally, we don't see that being practiced very well. And I don't know what to say, because it's not necessarily his fault for any minor deficiencies that he has communication-wise. And people might think, oh, why are you making a fuss about minor issues? Well, these minor issues tend to turn into big issues. Just ask the last administration. Well,
my perspective is that I will give him enough time to settle into the position. Somebody might say I'm very biased. Fair enough. But it's a new era in terms of how you communicate on certain things. Because let's put it this way: it matters not at this point in time what he says. Right? It will always have detractors of what he should have said or what somebody believed it meant. And that is the challenge you're going to face. So listen, he's unique in his own way, right? Less like other ministers who are in the past. We did in fact say that the way they behave, that they don't behave, they're unique. So we allow them with their uniqueness, because that's what distinguishes them from other politicians or just being politicians. You have some unique ones, right? So he is a unique one in the way that he addresses certain things and how he brings a different perspective in how he deals with the media and how he answers questions and how he addresses certain things. But yes, you got to take him with his good, bad, and different qualities. And but holistically, this administration is being drilled very, very meticulously in every field, in every avenue, right? I mean, the Venezuelan situation with the United States is not helping us. The situation with the economy is not helping us. I listen to a lot of problems people talking about. The environment is not helping, because the environment the persons are saying the environment is too nasty and dirty, and we have nobody wants to take up the mantle because CPEP and Europe no longer are wrong. So
I think the problem is local governments, at least in Port of Spain, started cutting grass the very next day once the announcement was made. But I don't know if they have budget for that.
So that's another aspect by itself, right? Overall maintenance of not facilities, maintenance of your country at the same time.
Yeah, especially when you're telling people, cut down the excess bush and light up the thing. And then it's like, yeah, but the government bush right next to me, all kind of home invaders could hide in that. Well, I mean, I guess the bush so high, even the Prime Minister's residence is potentially not exempt.
Listen,
that's
all of this will end very shortly, because Carnival has been launched and we are in party mode. Okay? So as we're talking about party, where we gotta go?
Hold on. Just before that, do you know apparently for cruise ships, part of the appeal for people to come to Trinidad and Tobago, at least certain parts of the Caribbean, to see the real reality, right? All of the dirt and the muck and everything. So the tall grass, you know what? Yes, we are like 2 steps from, I guess, some African savannah, we back in the, 1800s or whatever. We giving them the full traditional, back in the day.
Experience.
Back in the day, we have no modern conveniences of lawnmowers here. But, okay, Carnival Fest, we close with this. It is an interesting topic. There's multiple ways to take this. I myself am not necessarily so sure how to take it. The Prime Minister announced that, and I can't remember if the National Stadium was included as well or not. I may have read something that said that, but I'm not too sure. But the Cricket Academy is the center of attention right now, because apparently they have banned fetes from the Cricket Academy.
Yes.
Which is an interesting choice. Because if you ban fetes from the Cricket Academy, it might be, regardless of the reports, one of the best suited locations in TNT for this sort of thing, because it is significantly more removed from residential areas. Yes, I know there are residential areas nearby, but it's not to the same degree and proximity as the stadium, as schools with their school fetes and their school grounds, which could also be the location for their school fetes. The savannah, at the end of the day, there are renters and residents around the savannah, right, still, right, within proximity. Maybe it's not as much, maybe it's more commercial, but still, it's right in the heart of the city. So the Cricket Academy, if we can't figure it out for the Cricket Academy, then where can we have fetes without it being a problem? And more importantly, the question is it just going to be about the cricket academy? Because I think they may have said something about tackling maxis and so forth later. But there's more to noise pollution than just FETs at one venue.
Exactly. So the issue, what the reports were that they banned FETs at Brian Lara Academy, or use of the facility, right? UDCOT facilities. Now, it has its pros and cons in the decision making, right? The con aspect of it, or the negative aspect of it, if it really and truly is an official ban without any consultation, it's one of the better areas, not the Brian Lara Stadium itself, the perimeter of the Brian Lara Stadium or the car parks, where majority of FETs normally would take place, is more space, more easily. It can hold up more capacity at the same time. So that's a disadvantage if it really and truly is completely banned for the whole UDCOT facility. The positive aspect of it is that it is time to address noise pollution holistically.
Right, so even if this isn't really addressing noise pollution holistically, it could open the door.
Yes, and it must open the door because I read in a report that the Minister of Arts and Culture wants to have a consultation with the promoters and key stakeholders, such as the EMA and the police and even the residents in the area, because you have to strike a balance. Carnival is part of our culture. Carnival is music as opposed to noise. But, like I was explaining to you, you can play music in your home, or you can play music, but if the decibel level increases to such an extent that it's affecting me, I consider it not music anymore. I will consider it as noise because it's bothering me. It is noise for me. So we have to understand the individuals and the type of groups that has been affected with this noise. And it is not, I think it's a good time to start to have a discussion with it, because Carnival is right around the corner, right? NCC has already launched Carnival in Port of Spain, I think it's last week Friday, right? And one of the things that I want to say that this is the opening window for a number of FETs to start, right? And you will get a lot of FETs, and you will get FETs coming into Christmas. So you have Christmas FET, New Year's FETs, and then you have Carnival FETs taking place. There's a lot of activities going to take place leading up to Carnival.
Well, the thing is, could it be that we just accepted too much culturally and it's gotten out of hand?
It has gotten out of hand because I have been in several committees where community groups come together and discussing the issues of noise. And it does not seem to have a particular solution towards it, because here's the challenge. And this is why I would support somebody. I'm in support of some of the promoters and the venues that are located. There is no particular venue in Trinidad and Tobago, and I don't think there's any venue in the world that is designed specifically taking into consideration geographical location, parking facilities, residential population, maximum capacity to host an event.
In fact, one could argue the whole business model of sporting venues is to host events.
And a sporting event is a sporting activity is an event itself.
Right, but the problem is no sport is going to be in season all year round.
All right. So the venue itself has, and this is where maintenance cost is part of it. So you have to be able to say, out of season, the venue must be able to generate some revenue to upkeep itself, right? So that is one aspect of it. But at what cost? Now, let's put it this way. Carnival on the whole is perennial. There's a window, a very short window, where a lot of activities taking place and a lot of festivals take place in a very short window. So this is where I will empathize with the promoters, because the promoters are business people at the same time, right? And they also facilitate putting towards the culture, right? Pushing the culture. And people don't understand this. post-carnival events is also part and parcel of the carnival experience. It is not Carnival Monday and Tuesday alone. We have to understand that.
Yeah, well, there's also the pre-events as well.
So exactly. So those pre-events are what people come to the build-up of Carnival Monday and Tuesday. So we have to see them as how it is. We can't say it is only about business people. So I am not here to lobby against for anybody.
It's not just, the economy, because some people say, well, it's good for the economy. And then people say, no, it's just for greedy businessmen.
No.
But it's not just that. The population opts into these activities.
And we have to see Carnival Monday and Tuesday, the carnival experience, and everything that surrounds that carnival experience as part and parcel of our unique carnival. Because if you don't have the Martial Mondays and the Kest Tuesdays and all the events that are taking place, even the people who don't like the Fed called Stink and Dirty, that's an experience people come to. You may not like it, but it is part and parcel of our carnival experience now.
So that goes to the nitty-gritties of the issue with noise pollution in part is the lack of accuracy, the lack of attention by the various authorities, the lack of objective measures, and the utilization consistently of objective measures. Because not to go into the whole thing about the AMA and the TTPS and who and what and who, but the point is not all noise pollution is created equal.
It is not.
Right? So what could be a noise complaint? Because literally, there's a FET right next door, and this is ridiculous.
No.
It's not as though anybody's house is right next door to the Theatre Academy. Now, I don't know how loud the music is for the residents that are near enough to hear it, right? And I could imagine, generally in TNT, we like to crank the bass up way too much, and that could travel.
So there's a science behind noise. I'm sorry, sound. I usually say there's science behind sound. And there are things that cause sound to vibrate more than the other. If you're in a built-up area, so let's use the Queen's Park Savannah within the city, and I'm using this as an example. 120 decibels, and this is not any decibel level that is fixed to the area, just using this for quotation, just for discussion purposes. If you use 100 decibel level in the city in Queen's Park Savannah, take that same 120 decibels, and use the same 120 decibels at the Brian Lara Stadium, or at Skinner Park, or even in the West in O2 Park.
Right.
It will sound different. The meter might say 100 decibels, 120 decibels, but how persons in the environment hear that, it will be different, because the built-up areas, there's a lot of obstructions that are going to keep the music closer in, and it might sound louder.
It'll bounce off.
Right? Certain areas, if it's open area, if it's open,
forested,
it will spread further, so the music will move. You will hear the sound moving going further. So it's an advantage and disadvantage of the location. So in Brian Lara Stadium, you will hear the music at a longer distance away, because it will be able to. There's no obstruction, but it is not at the same decibel level in close proximity, because there's a ratio of how the decibel level will be falling all the way. So then I can monitor. Let's put it this way: the EMA and the person who is responsible for monitoring may go to a location, let's say half mile away, and the decibel level is way below the permissible level, but the individuals who are living in that area still has a problem, because they are not accustomed with this type of noise, or this loud vibrations, any kind of noise, over a period of time, because they're not accustomed to it. So they will make a complaint.
So I mean, that's one of the things. How far will a base? I don't know with regards to that situation. I don't live near the Brian Lara Cricket Academy. I know living in proximity to a loud sound system, and sometimes that bass could go through, could carry, especially on hard surfaces, rock, concrete, and the like.
So we have, and so let's take those two things away. Every single year, we have complaints on almost on a regular basis. You have people who live in residential areas complains about their own, within the own communities, complaining about the loud noise and the disturbance that it's causing.
So here's the issue to me, and we touched on this off air before the show. We could worry about FETs, and then we could say, well, the AMA, because FETs would have police and fire there. So the AMA should be equipped and resourced enough that, hey, for every big FET, at the very least, they should have people there with sound meters and the like, right? And to take objective measurements, right? To follow up. If there's a noise complaint, someone calls in to the police number, they should be able to reach the police in the venue, could reach the EMA in the venue to then, hey, let's take a level check to see what's going on, right? Have some urgency in your wake, because it's an hour for an hour. It's not like this FET is going to go for 12 hours, right? But a lot of the noise complaints aren't revolving around that.
Nope, it's
a lot of it is loud music in cars,
yes,
bars, in one case, supermarkets.
Next door neighbors, supermarkets.
Right?
Yes.
And there's deficiencies in the enforcement because, you know, you have the public. And listen, if the public is, at some point, it's not for me to tell the public, oh, you have it wrong.
So,
right? Because at some point, it's for the government to say, hey, public, do you all know the full extent of the situation? And here's the thing, regardless, they have an issue. Regardless of what the technical details are, even if the public doesn't identify the legal aspect of it accurately or not, they still have an issue that needs to be addressed.
You want to know what is what could constitute pure noise?
Oh, yeah.
When we have this thing called sound offs, 5 and 6 different, we have 10, 15 vehicles, all at the same location, playing different music at the same time without any monitoring about the decibel levels, because you want to bang out the other person, because you want your music to sound louder than the individual. That is noise. As opposed to an event where you have a particular sound, one sound, being played by one artist, and then another one comes by the DJ. So it's not multiple songs you're getting. There's a big difference. But then, who is regulating these sound-off competitions where they go and you see these vehicles? Now, I'm not against anybody who love their music, right, and invest in who love their music with respect to that. But I'm showing you there are multiple areas in which we have to address this concern with noise pollution, because who authorized that? And who is testing the decibel levels when these individuals who parks into, who goes into space and they have this sound, they have this sound off, and you have 5, 6 person, because nobody complaining. Nobody complain. People complain about it, and what you're going to do, there's no monitoring. Who giving them the permission to deal with it? And everything that we always keep on saying here over and over is that there are the laws, but there's no enforcement of them. Right? So we're just saying we have noise pollution rules. We have noise pollution rules. We have the Nuisance Act. We have the Summary Offences Act with noise. But you have to enforce it.
Let's take a comment quick before we run out of time. Isn't a simpler compromise, good day, isn't a simpler compromise position rather than banning FETs from these venues is for FETs to start early and have a midnight cutoff point? That can happen in theory. The problem is, look, the FETs happen for economic activity. Your economic activity requires you follow the desires of the consumers. And also, you could still probably get noise complaints.
I think this is an opportunity. So like I said, there's an opportunity now that exists where persons come together, have to come to the table, stakeholders, and discuss not the banning, but the compromise. Because now it is a compromise. Now we have to have a compromise because we have established our foundation. Before there was no compromising because everybody was on one side. Now we are saying, listen to me, come together, let's have a discussion. What about starting earlier and finishing earlier? Promoters want to maximize, you can't tell a promoter when to have a FET. But I am saying, if it is that you want to have a FET in a particular venue, there must be some requirements that you have to follow. If you want to choose this venue, you can't go beyond this time. So if you want to choose a venue, and this is discussions, this is some of the discussions that has to have when the stakeholders come together, is that if you want to use a venue, you have to have a compromise. The compromise is that you cannot go beyond a particular time. So you can't start your fete 2 o'clock in the morning, 12 o'clock midnight, and here's the other aspect of it. Some of the fetes, we have breakfast fetes, that you start 12 o'clock in the night and all 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, you are still actively involved in that fete. Now, that is going to cause, look, that is unrealistic for some people to be listening to our music whole night, right? And really and truly, it is not about the noise alone. The normal individual at night is when your body wants to relax and you want to take a rest. That's your normal rhythm, right? If you're going to a fete, you do choose to go to the fete because it's you, but the average individual wants to take a rest.
So my concern is you can't put the alternative. There's not enough alternatives.
No, there's not.
Yes, Shagaramas is away from most, but not all.
Not all.
And then now you're inconveniencing residents who are there because that's rail traffic on a single lane road.
Sure.
Right? And the thing is, a lot of the larger venues, unfortunately, like first of all, the mayor of San Fernando is saying, well, Skinner Park is over business. That would make the noise pollution aspect of this worse, right? Because it's in much closer proximity to residential areas. I would imagine maybe that's all been converted to commercial, like a lot of Woodbrook and Port of Spain. I could be wrong, right? So maybe it's not, but it's still within that same kind of situation that the Savannah, the stadium, etc. etc. Yes, there's like, I think a stadium in Tobago that's away from a lot of residential areas, but it's not like we could send all the fetes to Tobago. Look, the stadium in Arima, right?
Yeah.
Etihad Grounds, all of these various sporting complexes and facilities are in the middle of residential areas. And yeah, if you cut off events from these areas, you'll put a financial drain on them. Like, look, even for small events, Queen's Hall has carnival events, right?
Yeah.
That's within the proximity of I mean, yes, there's the $30,000 tent rental, right? That I'm not too sure how true that is or not, but they're within residential areas. I know that they have issues with regards to their expenses, right? With regards to just normal in-house events, will it be able to sustain it? And during Carnival, nobody's putting on a musical theater production in the middle of Carnival.
Nope.
So you will potentially cut off a major source of revenue to tie them over for those months. So maybe, now I'm not saying that the compromise is wrong. Even if you reach the end point to say it's not workable, or at least it's not workable right now, but we could work towards it, you still need to have the discussion. The flip side is, I think generally speaking, decibel levels and what is acceptable needs to be looked at more carefully. To say, because you pointed that out, and we need to take it more seriously. Cricket Academy, this is the level. It can't go over this, right?
I agree.
One of the issues is, I believe, in my limited experience, we don't have enough sound engineers that are that professional to say that they go beyond just, well, put a set of line arrays in front and crank up the volume and everybody will jam, right? To design the layout of a system where you could have high performance but not necessarily pushing decibel levels downstream far to people not even anywhere near where you are. Because you could argue, look, the stadium probably needs to have more control, the Savannah, etc., because of their proximity, right? So it's not just about the Cricket Academy, it's about all these venues, understanding what are the reasonable hard limits, because at the end of the day, if I could hear the music loud because I am at the venue, does it matter? Why does it matter? Why do we need to waste amperage sending sound, right, down to neighbors who are not anywhere near, right? Split up your speaker system, surround the activity with less speakers, use a lower amplitude level. I don't need people to have the bass so intense that it causes them to vomit, which sometimes happens.
So the thing about it is that we tend to associate carnival events and these events that are coming up with loud, very loud music, right? Sometimes nobody hear anything, but they want to hear the bass. You hear the bass line, everything going boom, 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 and everybody hearing it. I understand, but I'm saying that we agree that in Many persons in Trinidad don't even know what decibel level, the permissible decibel limit in certain areas are, you know, right? And sometimes you have to have education for it. Who's supposed to be educating persons as to what is the decibel level and what they should expect and in certain areas? What is 120 sound, 120 decibel level sound to you as opposed to me, right? We just and you know, the sad reality is that noise pollution only raises its head as it comes to carnival, when carnival is coming around, right? Everybody's talking about noise pollution when that time reach. So you get noise pollution for carnival. Fireworks at the end of the year for independence, and so you're hearing about fireworks, but then there's nothing stating that you can't use fireworks throughout the year. Right? You could purchase your fireworks, right? We had to have regulation for noisy vehicles on the streets in public spaces.
Yeah.
But
this ever happened to you recently?
Yes.
You're in traffic.
Yeah.
Connects to you.
And my vehicle vibrated more than and I say to myself, you have this vehicle, it is so loud. The vehicle is vibrating. You actually hear any vehicle vibrating. That individual driving that vehicle cannot even hear someone else's horn if it is an emergency. You can't even hear an emergency vehicle coming. But what you are saying, that you are in your vehicle, that is your comfort, and you can listen to your music as loud as you want. Yes, you can, but you cannot be disturbing the peace with it.
And that's ultimately the complaint of a lot of the public, right? And from what I understand, we have issues with the law that is making it not so straightforward. And this is why I said the politicians need to do something to sort out this mess. And this is not really, listen, if you want to say that this is a first step, I wouldn't necessarily say it's the most effective first step, but at least we should be grateful that it's a first step. That
it's a first step. It's a first step into addressing some of the major concerns.
But what if they don't?
Well, you may not get 100% effectiveness in it.
No,
but I am saying that because of the fact that there must be consultation going forward, there must be some level of compromisation in balancing act. Not everybody will be satisfied on both sides, but at the same time, conversation has to take place, and there must have some level of compromise, and persons on both sides must be able to enjoy their space.
Okay, we have a caller quick. We'll take the one call. Just want to point out that the Prime Minister did say they will look to have new restrictions on fete music trucks, residential parties, and bars. So the expectation is not that it's just the Cricket Academy alone, but I am saying we cannot see for it to be finally, seeing is believing as opposed to just saying. We have Sanfran on the line. Quick, good morning, caller, you on here?
Good morning, Sean. Good morning, Mr. Ali.
Morning.
Let me go first quickly with Mr. Alexander. Mr. Alexander was a police officer that had more interaction with the media than any other police officer. So Mr. Alexander doesn't have, there is no excuse for his behavior. But it seems as if in Trinidad and Tobago, mediocre always stops excellence. And that is, Mr. Alexander is a clear example of that. Let me leave that alone there. With respect to the government banning fetes at the court facilities, utter rubbish, especially that Brian Lara Stadium, In South here, you have Brian Lara Stadium, you have, where they have fetes, they have Sapa. I can't understand the assault. Anytime the last UNC government had an assault on culture as well. And this is the same thing that they're trying to do. Well, lastly, they need to get rid of the head of the EMA, Mr. Romano. I have said this on this program already. With respect to noise pollution, Mr. Romano and head in the EMA has done a piss poor job of implementation and innovation in trying to solve or bring a better understanding and helping the situation with respect to noise pollution. He has done a piss poor job. He and all those people in the AMA. And it's time that we stop accepting mediocreness in this country. We want excellence. And there's no time frame in that. We've been at it too long. Have a good day, gentlemen.
Thank you, caller. I mean, yeah, on some level, I kind of forget about that, but I'm the guy that said, "Ayla not fit for purpose." I'm the guy that questions the accountability in the Defense Force. And at some point, you had a question, the people running the AMA, they could be under-resourced, and they could have legislative difficulties. So then you know what their job is? Not to just sit and wait for someone else to fix it, even though it's not for them to actually fix it directly, but indirectly communicate to their superiors, do the best they can, and try to make the public understand that they're doing the best they can, and show the public that they're doing the best they can. But communicate to their superiors, lobby for improved situations or circumstances, right, to get them what they need, and if necessary, for the sake of the public good, say, listen, I can't do the job if you don't give me what I need to do the job, and to say that publicly, to highlight it as much as possible. When the Admiral resigned from U.S. Southern Command, to some extent, he was sending a message. All right, this has to be the last call because we're running out of time. Move on the line. Good morning, caller, you're on the air.
Good morning, gentlemen. I don't understand what Mr. Santana means about an attack on culture. But let me just say this. I'm sure you know me. I have been lobbying for this noise to be dealt with for a long time. And as far as I'm concerned, this is the time now for it to be addressed. And it's going to be, and I already said, you said something that's not what they don't. If they don't, Sean, there's going to be problems. All right? Let me put it that way. And you have to feel it to know it. There are people who speaking about this and they don't have a clue what it is to lie down in their bed and not be able to sleep. And I rest my case. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. I don't think Mr. Sanfano is speaking about that. I don't think Mr. Sanfano is speaking about that. I would imagine when it comes to the irresponsible bars and maxis and music trucks and the like, I don't think there's a wrong with that. But with regards to the cricket academy, the fact of the matter is that might be, listen, if we have to ban feds at the cricket academy, we say we have to ban feds everywhere. And we might as well just ban all feds. Because there are very few locations that's better positioned to minimize the impact than the cricket academy.
You can't make that statement. We can't do that realistically. Because the government agent still falls under government, our state agencies. So if you're saying UDICOT, no problem.
No, but the logic says.
But however, private entities, they are also private venues. No, so the thing about it is that
ironically, the government can overreact, right, and go too far and put laws in place just too stringent. You could still legally say.
Yes, we know, but I'm still saying, right. just like Mova, and I agree with Mova. Sometimes I try to be very political with Mova, and he just hit me for 6, right? But he's true that the enforcement of the laws is there. This I am saying, I am hopeful. This is one time I'm hopeful that this, as Carnival is very close. It is about time you have a discussion now, before the full blow of Carnival and Carnival activities kick in, to start to discuss how are we going to treat with it. You may not get it perfect, but it's now is the perfect time to address this and address this concern to alleviate some of the challenges and some of the problems that many of the residents in certain areas feel, right? And if it is that the administration is and the government is putting some things in place to start to address some of the concerns, right, it is only going to be beneficial going forward, because there's a lot more to be done when it comes to noise and noise pollution, right? And persons not being able to enjoy the peace of their home, right? It is very difficult. I could tell you, where I live too, sometimes even family playing, and I had to tell them, I say, hey, not whole day I could be playing music, and I can't even hear my own voice in my own house.
We are to close, but I'll just say this. One of my concerns is we might overcompensate and do what I just said. and then go ahead. Because it's a lot easier to enforce the law if you say no fets. If you do a law that says, hey, noise pollution is bad, no fets, that's the thing.
Fair enough,
so
fair enough.
part of it is you overdo it because you want to show that you're solving the problem, but then part of it is also why you might overcompensate is because it's just easier. Why go through to figure out all the nitty-gritty details of how to manage it responsibly, which is why your point about consultation is so important. But everybody has to approach it seriously, not just the public, because there will be members of the public who will, but also the AMA, the government, the elected officials, the MPs, etc., the councillors. The councillors should be involved too, local government, on something like this. Everybody needs to take that seriously and not turn it into a political set piece of what the PNM did wrong and what the UNC did wrong, which most things like crime has turned into. So we'll end there. Thanks to the callers, thanks to the commenter. I don't think we have another comment, right. So thanks, Ashraf, for joining me once again. No problem. I will just say this to close the show. We never know when things will come to an end. And all we know is that the sun will eventually set, as it does every day. And the various factors could come into play. At the end of the day, humans will be human. And sometimes humans just won't see eye to eye. Sometimes circumstances will dictate things. Sometimes a TV show host might be too stubborn for his own good. But it just got me thinking that at the end of the day, that amongst other things, I had a friend pass away. Oh. And a while ago, but he was in a WhatsApp group. I didn't get a notification, but apparently whoever controls his phone left the group. It's just one of those things where when you experience that, it's hard to describe unless you're in the moment. But it's things like that where I just like to tell people, given all of the uncertainty with the economy, with the United States and Venezuela, with crime still, despite the fact that the murder rate is down, at the end of the day, take nothing for granted. Don't take your country for granted. Don't take your sports teams for granted. Don't take your patriotism and your national pride for granted. Don't take your government for granted. Don't take your leaders for granted. I fear we do it too often as a society, and then we kind of say, hey, why did we end up here? And sometimes it's unavoidable. Humans will be human. Complexity is a thing that once you get two humans involved, things are going to be complex and messy. But who knows when this run on Talking Point will end? It might be today. It might be in 10 years. I just want to thank everybody for watching so far. It could be a one person watching, or it could be 1,000 people watching. And I hope that you will continue watching WSN and all of the content that it has to offer. And hopefully, more importantly, we will have encouraged greater conversation within the national sphere, regardless of if we're here to continue it, or maybe I should say if I am here to continue it, or not. Sean Michael Small, Talking Point on WESN. Maybe we'll see each other next week. Bye-bye.
WESN